Welcome, everyone, to Over and Back, brought to you by the Unintentional. I'm joined by a special guest here, Evan Flood. Evan, I'd sent you an agenda, and the first part of the agenda was an intro of you and stuff like that. So I know you from Prep Hoops. I know you wear probably multiple. I know you wear multiple hats. So I guess let's get into it right away, and just because I don't know fully, like what your position is for everything that you do.
Yeah, so my main job, I cover the Badgers, basketball, football, recruiting for 24/7 Sports, which is owned by CBS Sports. And, because there's no baseball for Wisconsin, it kind of works out nicely for, me to pick up a second job. I actually started in basketball with NY2LA Sports. I believe I was there 5 or 6 years. Moved over to Prep Hoops now, and like I said, without baseball, kind of got the whole spring and summer free to focus on that, and like that's a nice little getaway from kind of the grind of college sports, and kind of like to see a lot of the up and coming, kids that are going to be playing in college as well, and of course. Sometimes those guys end up playing for the Badgers, and it's a nice way to kill two birds, with one stone, and be able to follow those guys as well. So that's pretty much how I spend my spring and summer is, with Prep Hoops, either at their events or other people's events, kind of following the state of Wisconsin prospects around.
Okay, so I guess maybe a stupid question. So you work for Prep Hoops, you work for 24. Is it 24/7 Sports? Or those are two separate things, correct?
Yes,
So if someone asked you what your full time job is, what's your full time job?
24/7 sports.
Okay, all right,
Although I do them both full time, but I mean 24/7 sports is where I'm not a independent contractor. I'm an independent contractor for Prep Hoops. So,
okay,
I mean, they are both full time, but if I had to pick one, it'd be 24/7 sports.
okay. So whenever, and I think a lot of people probably who have watched this and listened to this will wonder, because it's one of my first thoughts is like, how did you get to where, like, how did you get to this point? Like, what was your, I guess, how did you get these jobs first off? And even a bigger question mark would be like, what's your kind of basketball background or sports background, I guess, to kind of led you down this path?
Yeah, people ask me that, how do you get started? And, people that want to go around that same career path, I really don't have a lot of advice for them just because I think my story's a lot different than most. I mean, you hear about these guys that, are grinding away on unpaid gigs or internships for years and years, sending out their resume to anywhere in the country. It really didn't happen like that for me. I remember when I was in college, I started kind of my own Wisconsin recruiting site, and the guy who I believe 24/7 Sports was launched in 2010. And the guy who was running Badger 24/7 Sports now, or back then, Kyle Heikkinen, who's now an assistant coach at Western Illinois, actually, saw it, liked it, asked me to come on board, and I kind of interned there for, I don't even know if it was a year, but then he left, got out of the business, and kind of handed it to me and ran with that, full time. So I wasn't still in college when I got actually hired by 24/7 Sports. So it kind of just fell my way, and I just sort of ran with it. And then I think a couple years in, I started covering some NY2LA tournaments, and met Antonio Curro, who runs there and runs them. Started, I was doing some tournament recaps, and I started working for him for part time, and eventually, all year round as well. So, like I said, I mean, there was really no magic recipe that this all kind of came together, and it was really luck and timing. So those people that want to get into this stuff, I don't have necessarily the best advice for people, because I think I was very fortunate, very lucky, just kind of right place, right time type of thing. And who knew 10 years later 24/7 Sports would be what it is now owned by CBS Sports. And I believe it's top five in terms of um, in sports, in terms of I forget what how you break it down, but top five sports platform in the country. So it kind of worked out that way. My background in basketball, played in high school, tried to play in college a little bit. My coach actually had some connections at UW Green Bay. I had some lower level stuff. Didn't really want to go to school at any of those places, so tried to walk on Green Bay. Got a little tryout type thing, but I wasn't nearly athletic enough
And
to play at that
where'd you,
school.
yeah, where'd you go to
Sorry,
high
what was it?
school at?
Stoughton.
Okay. Okay.
So I wasn't nearly athletic enough to play at a Division One like that. But I wanted to go to school at UW Green Bay, so that's where I went out of high school and thought I'd give it a shot. But kind of just always been around the game my whole life. Loved it. Even when I was a player. My best friend in high school was actually Tyler Cleveland, who some people may know his dad is Rich Cleveland, kind of the legendary Madison East coach. So as I was going up in games with him in the Big A, just watching these guys like Keaton Nankiville, Wes Matthews, and just kind of really taken away by uh, you know the old Big Eight. Kyle Weaver too. A lot of guys came out of Madison at that time, and I really just kind of fell in love with the sport. As a spectator more than a player, and actually went to college initially in business, and then just started thinking to myself, what are you doing? You've always
Yeah.
loved sports, you always loved basketball. I mean, why not make a run at it and switch my major kind of a year in and went into sports that way.
Okay. I was actually going to ask you what your major was in college. I was wondering if it was journalism or something like that, but I think I was a business major too. The easiest pick is business major
Right.
for guys, I think. So my dad was a banker. I just kind of followed that path. But I'm not a banker. But anyways, um, people listening or watching this are probably like, why is Evan Flood talking to this random guy that no one knows, especially your followers? You got a ton of followers. Obviously I don't have, we'll have a mix of people watching this. Hopefully you'll retweet this link out and people can watch. So just so other people are listening, how Evan and I know each other. We really don't know each other that well. Um, I have two boys. One is going to be a junior. One's going to be a sophomore. They both play basketball for Kimberly. So I am a Kimberly dad, like it or hate it. I get both ways. I came up to Evan at it was my first prep hoops tournament for my kids, I guess. And if you follow either of us on Twitter, you hear about Owen Polakowski, which I will get into Owen at some point tonight. I didn't even ask you how much time you have tonight, but do you have time?
We're still I'm still got no sports. I think I have to be somewhere end of October. I get that's assuming if there's basketball. So we have till then.
No, I'm saying
Till
how
college basketball.
I'm asking how much time we have tonight to talk on the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, end of October.
No, how much do
Well,
you? How much?
I guess when I go to bed. Yeah,
Okay, okay. Well,
I got nowhere to.
you got nowhere to be. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'd come up to you and just asked you to ask a kid, not even my kid. I mean, that was one of the first things I said to you. I said, I'm not even asking you to watch my kid. Just go watch this other kid. So, over the course of the weeks, whatever, you and I had talked when we would run into each other just about kids and stuff like that, I guess. So I had asked you to come on, and again, I told you this before we started recording, but thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. I know that I don't probably give you much of anything. It's a different fan for. I just like talking basketball. And I'm glad that you decided to come on and talk rankings. The reason I actually did ask you right away was because rankings come out and everyone kind of loses their crap about this kid's ranked here, this kid's ranked there, and I'm like, you know what? I want to get Evan on. I want to talk about this stuff, and not pick apart everything. I mean, I can't even imagine. I guess that's another one question I hear is when you set out rankings, does your inbox just flood with people saying this is wrong or this is what I'm saying?
It can. I try. I mean, one of the reason I don't like rankings, and frankly, if it were up to me, I wouldn't do it. But
Yeah.
the AAU especially is just a real politics game, and it's very hard to please everybody.
Yep.
And I've never met a parent except whoever the kid was ranked number one. I've never met a parent that thought their kid was ranked appropriately for the most part. So.
Yeah.
You're always getting emails, and texts if they have your number, and I try to be open, and to everybody and hear what they have to say. Whether I agree with them or not, and if they want me or ask me to, definitely take a second look or third look, however many it ends up being over the 4 years that they're in high school. Because the rankings are entertainment, and I'm also not going to get it right 100%. I
Right.
know that going in. I mean, there's only so much time I have to watch every kid. There's going to be games I see where a kid looks really good, and I may miss some of the bad performances where their weaknesses start to show up, and that's vice versa there. So a lot of kids get caught into a situation where maybe I just saw him on a bad night, or maybe I saw him on a really good night, And, one game like that, if I'm only, especially, kids that aren't in my neck of the woods or maybe don't play on a big AAU team, I mean, that can really affect their ranking. So there's a lot of different factors that I think you try to look at when ranking a kid, knowing that you're not going to have all the answers, unless, it just happens to be, a kid that I've seen 20, 25, 30 times over a 4-year period. But, for that, we're talking about 10, 15% of the prospects in any given class. So I don't take it personally, when somebody wants to call out a ranking. And, frankly, for a prospect in general, if you think you're ranked appropriately, I think there's something wrong with that. I think you should necessarily feel you're better than maybe what I have you at, because basketball, as everybody knows, is 50% confidence, or maybe even more. So I would honestly think maybe something's wrong with you or your game. If you think I've got you accurately, so I don't take it personally. If you don't like it, I guess I would prefer if you kept it off Twitter and all that stuff. I think the best way to go about it is to just prove me wrong and shut me up. You get my respect a lot faster that way. But I don't ever take it too personally, and I try and listen to everybody and take as much information from whether it's a parent, whether it's a kid itself, college coach, whoever, and try and put it all together. And when we're talking about ranking, uh, it ends up being about 150 by the time the senior year rolls around. It's not going to be 100% perfect, and I know that.
Yeah. We'll get into social media stuff as we go here. And my next question was going to be is how often do you, and I think I asked you this when I first met you, is how often you get just random dads like me that say, hey, you got to come watch my kid?
Uh, Not as much as you think. Um, Honestly, I don't think it happened a ton this summer. Now, I'm sure part of that is because of the whole COVID thing. I was separated from the parents,
Yep.
so it didn't really happen a lot. But usually it's after the fact. A lot of dads or moms, will take video of their kids and from every tournament and send it my way. I would say that's more common than somebody coming up to me. I don't know how many people would recognize me anyway. I'm sure they recognize the Twitter handle and all that, but in person's a little different. So it doesn't really happen a ton. Yeah, I would say more common. It's just emails or texts or calls, and just asking if I'll take a look. Which I always will.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start. Just so people get an overview, because I kind of want to, and you've kind of hit on a bunch of these points, but I actually kind of want to just get more specifics, I guess. So let's just go. Let's dive into the ranking section of it. When you start with a class, so I guess you could probably say this 2023 class was the most recent one that you've kind of started ranking, correct? So
Yeah, well, I just finished 2021 yesterday, actually, but
right, but we haven't
um,
you haven't touched 2024 yet. So I'm
no.
saying the youngest group.
Okay, yeah,
So yeah, so when you're starting from scratch with a class, like so when you started with 2023, like what's the first thing that you do? Is it talking to high school coaches, AU coaches? Are you what are you doing to start to just kind of get a baseline of who you want to put where?
I would say social media is a good place to start because you generally get these names popping up early a year or two before high school. So you kind of put them into the memory bank. For instance, with 2024 coming up, Tayshaun Bridges is all over social media.
Right.
You know about him. Him and Nas Beeman, too, are going to be two national recruits. And you kind of, I don't necessarily start ranking them until I see them live if I can. But I definitely got their name down in the database ready to go. And, I think you can get 5, 6, 7 top kids right away, just by paying attention on social media and see who's coming up, because I don't have the time to go to seventh or eighth grade games a ton and watch and see who's coming, unless it's a completely separate event. But usually those guys are in with the high school guys, and I kind of got to focus on the upper tier classes anyway, especially in a shortened summer like this, where opportunities are limited for everybody. So I would say that creates a good baseline. Just kind of getting a feel for who's coming up. A lot of these guys already have film on them. It doesn't hit everybody. There's still a lot of kids that are going to slide through the cracks, but obviously there's not a ton of freshmen that are going to see big varsity minutes, at least at the major schools, Division I, Division II, even Division III anyway. So and then that would kind of be the next part. I think see who's playing big minutes on varsity, who's doing what, because I still don't like to rank them until after the first spring or summer anyway. So I think you can knock out a good solid 2025 right there before you've ever seen these guys play, and then before you ever have to rank them. I think you start with some of those kids that are creating hype on social media. It's generally pretty real, and then you go to the guys who were able to crack varsity as freshmen and play key minutes for these high school programs.
So good, perfect segue to my next question. So which you see by, like, for the most part, when you look at rankings, and you're not the only one that does rankings. Obviously, there's plenty of people that do rankings, but you notice a trend of where it's the kids that played varsity that are on these lists, when you have other kids that are obviously that could be playing JV that could be just as good, or just for freshmen in general,
Mm-hmm.
which is that's just a product of I think the school you go to, whether you go to a small school, maybe a big school where you've got 30 or 40 kids going out, or no one going out, right? So I mean, I imagine that's probably tough to gauge, because, and Owen's a perfect example, right? I mean, he was on JV, and I mean, look at the kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So am I right by saying that's tough to differentiate? Like, I got this kid that's playing a ton of minutes on varsity as a freshman, but he goes to a D5 school versus, someone at like a Kimberly or something like that.
Right, and that's why I always tell people, especially when I updated the 2023 rankings, and some parents are like, well, why did my kid fall so far? It's really not that a kid fell. It's that I'm discovering new people now that I'm seeing them live, and seeing what they can do, because they weren't guys that were on varsity for whatever reason. A lot of these guys play at big programs where they're not needed to play right away, and the dynamics are different with coaching, how they want to handle, freshmen. There are a lot of coaches out there that just don't like playing freshmen, on
Yeah.
varsity. They
Yep.
may bring them up to suit up or whatever, but they don't like doing it. But they think it's more valuable to, maybe be a starter on JV and get big minutes that way, which is, totally acceptable. So, a lot of times it's not that people are dropping. It's not anything that they did, but, when I started the 2023 rankings, I had, I think 25 guys. And even at that point, I was just stretching it out to
Yeah.
get to 25. It wasn't a sure thing because I didn't have a spring to watch, these guys. And then I added, 20, 25 more to make it an even 50. And it's really not that, people are dropping. It's just that other guys start to emerge at this time. And that's going to keep happening, over the next 3 years here, as I'm going to discover, more prospects that, hadn't played in front of me, or, maybe are late bloomers and, get on bars and start making their mark on varsity later. And so I would say that comes up a lot. And a question I have to answer and kind of lay out there that it's not anything necessarily your son did. It's just that there are more players to choose from now.
Right. Are you do you rely a lot on AU coaches, AU directors, varsity coaches, stuff like that? I mean, you reach out to just kind of gauge information.
I would say if it's someone I haven't seen. So this spring and summer was a lot more because there are a lot of guys on JV too that people tell me he's the real deal. But it's like what do you do with somebody like that you haven't seen? Doesn't have a stat line that you can look at or anything like that, or you won't see them in AAU this year. But I really don't, just because it's not conversations I want to have with people that have every reason to lie to me. Not to say that they would. I do value their opinion. A lot of these guys, have forgotten more about basketball than I'll ever know. But I like to take it from the most unbiased source that I can. And every AAU coach, no matter my relationship with them, has every reason to tell me somebody is better than they are. So it's kind of a situation. I don't necessarily ask where they should be ranked. That's not a question I ever want to ask them or even put them in that type of spot, because I do think that's unfair to them too, because they got more than one player, right? So you're asking them to choose between, their players sometimes, who's better. And that's not a conversation I want to have. But, just in terms of maybe where I think they are in terms of what level, high major, mid major, Division II, whatever, those conversations are definitely more frequent than, say, what number should I have next to a kid's name.
Okay. and I know we go back to the number. I mean, and I'm with you. Like you started off this by saying like you wish there weren't rankings. I'm with you. It's when you watch the whole season. And it's been jam packed in the last month and a half. You watch how close kid 4 is to kid 55. Like it's like one of those, might be just one game that you see it or whatever, but it can fluctuate so much. But have you ever had a spot where, or I guess depending on how you do your rankings and when you talk to people, where you liked a player so much and you kept hearing other people like, this kid's better, this kid's whatever, and then you ranked them ahead, and again we're talking about rankings, but like put him ahead of, just because so many people told you that he was better and you went against what you actually believed and what you saw with your eyes?
I'd have to look back.
Like an example, like Leon
Jordan
Bonin.
McCabe might be an example, but I'll still blame myself because
Oh yeah,
I
let's talk
remember
McCabe. This is
I
perfect. He's
remember
our
being at the
backyard.
state. I remember being at I went to an Oshkosh North game during the season, and I think I went to the Oshkosh North Kaukauna game too, and I believe Kaukauna won the first that year, but I was at the second. Oshkosh North won, and I started to think, you know, you look at Tyrese, and he's a 6'5", 6'6" point guard, and then you look at Jordan. Obviously, all the skills in the world, but he's undersized, and gonna be limited at the college level. Could be a defensive liability. And I started to think, do I really want to put Tyrese ahead of him? And then I went to another Oshkosh North game, and my thought was, man, my second thought there that night was Wisconsin fans are going to be so pissed when they see how good this kid's going to be for Iowa State, and they're going to let Greg Gard have it, even though it was really out of his control with that one. And then the state tournament comes along, and Jordan McCabe was obviously fantastic, maybe the best finish to a state championship game I've ever seen, and that includes the one Sam Decker had. I would actually give it to McCabe when, all things considered, the opponent he played, versus the stage, sold out Kohl Center, and what he did in that final minute or two. But then Tyrese just ran through Division I, and it wasn't even a game in those two. I mean, and I thought about doing it there, but it was Jordan McCabe. He was such a big name in this state and nationally. I think I felt pressure to keep him number 3, and also I was with NY2LA at the time, and so Tyrese didn't come through a lot of our tournaments in AAU, so I didn't really have that to fall back on, because that's where I do a lot of my value. I like to base it off what you do in AAU more so than high school, just because it's better competition. You get to see these guys against people they don't know. I think that it's a lot more organic. You don't have coaches stepping in with a billion different schemes. It's more just basketball, right?
Sure.
So I didn't have that to fall back on with Tyrese, but I definitely thought there would be pressure, or it would look bad to put Tyrese ahead of Jordan McCabe and maybe even Joey Hauser, but I don't remember what I was thinking, because Hauser didn't play his senior year at Stevens Point, but that would be an example that comes to mind.
Well, so what was your ranking that year? Who did you have where? And where was Hero?
I had
in
Tyler
all this?
Hero 1,
Okay.
Joey Hauser 2, McCabe 3, Tyrese Halliburton 4, and obviously we'll see what happens with Joey at Michigan State, but
yeah,
Tyrese is still a lottery potential top 10 pick. It's hard to see Joey getting to that point, in a year or two here.
You probably don't know this, Evan, because you probably didn't. Did you do any research on me or my podcast or anything, or no?
I did listen to the last episode just to kind of get a feel for it.
Which one was that?
I think you talked about Tyler Hero.
Okay, yeah. So I have a very disdain for Tyler Hero.
Okay.
So, but
we can talk about that.
So to give you a background of my podcast, I was keeping track the first year of what McCabe, Halliburton, Hero, and then even Keyshawn Justice did.
Mm-hmm.
So just because it was Wisconsin, it was like it's like you've never seen this before in Wisconsin, where you had these 4 guys going D1, and I'm assuming you've heard of the Holy Cross tournament up here in Kaukauna.
No.
Okay.
Unless it goes by, is there a different? What is it?
I think it's called the Holy Cross Men's Open.
Okay.
So it's a lot of like old guys, but that year overtime put together a team through McCabe, because McCabe's a Kaukauna guy, and it was Halliburton, McCabe, Justice. Hero was supposed to play, but I'm assuming Calipari told him he couldn't, whatever, so he didn't play. But they ended up getting to the championship and losing in the championship, which was way more than anyone thought, because these old guys were just kind of beating them up the whole time. But Justice outplayed all of them. Like, Keyshawn Justice was amazing the entire tournament. So, but anyways, ever since that, like, my podcasts have always just kind of been around those four guys. And mainly just the fact that the Hero stuff is just, yeah, I'm not the biggest Tyler Hero fan. So if you're saying you want to talk about it, are you going to say that you're not a big Tyler Hero fan either, or what? Oh, you're a Badger fan, aren't you? That's why you're not a Tyler
Well,
Hero.
I'm not a Badger fan anymore, but I think there are a lot of people that need to be educated on how things went down.
Okay, so
And I do like Tyler. I like his family, and they've always been great to me. I got nothing, no ill will towards them. I mean, I even said when he committed to Wisconsin, I put this in writing. Like, this is not a fit.
Right.
Like, one of these two is going to have to drastically change what they do in order to make this work. But at the time, Tyler wasn't Tyler Hero.
Right.
I mean, he was probably outside the top 100 or just inside it. Grew up a big Badger fan, had just come off 2 visits, really. He went to that Lambeau Field game against LSU, which was an incredible environment. And I think came to Madison the next week or the week after, and kind of just fell in love with being a hometown hero. And, at the time, that was great. There was nothing wrong with it. But, as he continued to get better, his priorities changed. All of a sudden, basketball wasn't about college for him. That wasn't his end game, or, he certainly wasn't going to be a 3 or a 4-year player. And Wisconsin's a different dynamic, especially when they have experienced guards. He wasn't walking into there day one and knocking Dimitri Trice or Brad Davison out of that spot. Could he have earned it at some point? Sure. Would he have, would he have gotten 30 minutes a game as a true freshman, been allowed to dribble, all over the floor, do what he want? No, Wisconsin doesn't win that way. They got to win with their type of guys. They got to win with their brand and their style, and they've been successful for 20 years. Why should they change? I think it got to a point where, you start seeing North Carolina sniff around. You start seeing Kentucky obviously sniff around. And you can go to these schools and join a brand new roster from day one and not have to worry about any of that. And you're going to be marketed in a way that's best for, the NBA. And, obviously Kentucky did wonders with him. They did right by him. I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do things. They're 2 different basketball programs, and, they do things 2 completely different ways. So I think most Wisconsin fans are okay with how things turned out. I mean, Wisconsin had a setback, for a year. That 2018 class, they've gotten nothing out of it so far. Missed the NCAA tournament. They came back next year, reloaded, got their guys. Dimitri Trice made big gains. Brad Davison made big gains. Who knows what, Harrell on this team ate up a scholarship. Who knows who may not be here because of that. I think it all would have worked out pretty similar, but you never know. Maybe Micah Potter's not at Wisconsin right now. If Tyler Harrell was still on that roster, I don't know how it would have worked out. Maybe you can't close Johnny Davis because you don't have that scholarship for Jordan, for his brother Jordan, to kind of get that deal done as well. So a lot of different things that could have happened, but Wisconsin's obviously bounced back fine, getting a share of the Big Ten. And like I said, I don't think the smart Wisconsin fan, I don't know if that's the best way to put it, has any disdain towards what happened other than the fact that it happened. I think they can see that what happened with Tyler was the right move.
So you said
what wasn't right is that it happened 2 weeks before signing day.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't know that Wisconsin thought they were going to lose Tyler in July. They went to him and said, "Hey, if you want out, let us know. We got 4 guys we can offer right now." One of those guys may have been Tyrese Halliburton. I
Sure.
think it was still a little too late at that point, but that was one. AJ Green, who is an all conference, or did he stay in the draft in Northern Iowa? I don't know, but he was he tested the waters, and he's an all conference player in Northern Iowa. Another one, the one that's the killer, is Ochai Agbaji at Kansas. He was a kid from Oak Creek, grew up a diehard Badger fan. He was actually coming to commit on an official visit until Kansas swooped in, offered him, and took him. Now, if you were able to make that offer in July, you get him up on campus in early August. It's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
You got a pro on your roster right now. So that's where Wisconsin fans have every right to be upset. But in terms of the decision Tyler made, I don't think anybody can fault it at this point. It was right for both parties. And look, if like I said, Tyler obviously his priorities changed, wanted to get to the NBA as soon as possible. If that's not happening at Wisconsin, and he's there for 1 year and transfers, it's a terrible look for your program.
Yeah.
So you can make the argument, both sides really benefited by this, and Tyler certainly, not only helped himself obviously, but helped Wisconsin by pulling out as well. Because like I said, it wasn't about college for him anymore.
Yeah. I've never ever ripped him for the decision. He did the greatest thing that for himself by far. I mean, you can't debate that at all. So you said that you're not a Badger fan anymore. Does that mean that you were a Badger fan and now you're not because something happened?
No, I mean, I obviously grew up 15 minutes from Madison, but I think, once you take this job, you kind of get away from it. It's not like I watch the games or go to the games and, I got a Badger shirt on. I can't tell you the last time I bought any Badger apparel or anything like that. Obviously you get to know these kids a little bit on a personal level. You want to see them do well and all that, especially, people I cover for Prep Hoops, like Johnny Davis or, Carter Gilmore, whoever that you kind of get to know them and their families. Obviously it's, nice to, kind of watch them and see them do well. But yeah, in terms of fan, I think that just kind of goes away after a while. In fact, I mean, the sooner they lose, the sooner I get in the NCAA tournament, the sooner I get a vacation. And honestly, I mean, the thing you find out too is the worse they do when bad stuff happens. Those are your best days on the network because traffic goes to the roof. No one wants to come to the site when everything's good for the most part and they're cruising. They want to come and complain and do all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
it was funny, Tyler, for instance, sent me a message after he decommitted and he goes, thanks, for everything. I really appreciate it. Sorry it didn't work out. I'm like, sorry, you did it perfectly. You committed, it was a huge thing, and then you decommitted. I got
Yeah. Plenty of
two
stories,
bangs for my buck there,
right,
man.
Lots to talk about. Yeah. So you're not a fan of any team then, huh? You don't, I mean, obviously just doing what you're doing.
I mean, if I quit today, would I be a Badger fan? Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not, cheering for anybody on a regular basis.
Okay. I'm a Duke fan, just to let you know, so I'm not a Badger fan either.
Okay.
People hate that, but whatever. It is. I've been a Duke fan my whole life, and my kids are too because of it. So, but it is what it is. So, okay, well, that was good. I didn't think we were going to take a Tyler Hero tangent, but I'm always happy. Every single podcast I talk about Tyler Hero, it's just one thing that I have to do all the time. So, he actually played today, and he's not shooting well. Just for everyone out there who's listening to normally, he's not shooting well down in the bubble. So don't tell me that he's an elite shooter yet. That's my biggest beef. Okay, so we got rankings. Yeah, my point was with the whole, to go back to what we were talking about with, you brought up McCabe. I was just thinking, like, if you take the 2022 class, I think there's the argument that who's number one. Again, it's rankings, but it's Bond or Brazel, right? Is that how you pronounce the last name, Brazel?
This is the first time I've ever had to say it, so I get caught in this all the time because I'm always just writing it.
Brazel,
I think
whatever.
it's Braziel.
Braziel. Oh yeah, Braziel. Okay.
I don't. Yeah, I'm sure
I was just wondering if you like.
I'll have to ask him. I don't.
Yeah, like if you liked, you loved Bond, but everyone else liked Jeffrey, but if you went against it, that's what I'm just talking. That's no big. I mean, it was just a question. I just wonder of the main thing was who are we who are you talking to and stuff like that, and if you really do trust certain people. But it sounds like it's obviously, I mean, you're the one that writes it. You're the one that's got to stick with what you're writing, and if it ends up backfiring or I guess whatever. But so, I want to talk about offers that kids get. Let me do this. Let's talk about offers that kids get, Evan. How do you find out that kids get offers?
Well, now it's all Twitter. I mean, it
But
used to be
you,
that it
yeah,
used to
usually
be
you're
you'd get
the
a text or something. Now I got to watch Twitter all day long because the
right. But
kids are.
usually you're the one that's break. You're usually one of the first ones that has it, right? Like if you're the first one that gets it, are you? Is a dad texting you? Is a kid? Like where are you getting this from? And then the follow up question is, how are you confirming or are you not? Like, is there a? Are you going? All right, I got to make sure this is true. Is this legit? You know what I mean?
Um, you know, like I said, in terms of the text, you don't get those. I mean, at least I don't. And frankly, the kid, even if you do, the kid's already posted it on Twitter anyway. I mean, it's kind of a situation now where the kid's in charge of the message and controls it more than anything. So it's kind of a little bit of a headache where you gotta be on Twitter all day, just you know refreshing every hour and just kind of seeing what's going on. Just because that it wasn't like that in 2010, 2011, 2012 when I first started, and even when Twitter was around, it wasn't used like that. So yeah, I want to text. Sometimes some coaches will text you. It can be college coaches. Hey, we offered so and so, and in terms of confirming it, um, I mean, obviously there are some where you're like, yeah, this is a little suspicious. If that's the case, I really just won't tweet about it. Usually you can figure it out, kind of what it is, or, not to try and embarrass anybody. I'm not thinking of any specific example, but obviously,
I could give you
uh,
20 of them, Evan.
yeah. um, but usually I would say most people's intuition is correct when it comes to that stuff. You kind of just got to use it. There are times, I'll text coach just to be sure, and generally they have an offer. I would say it's very rarely where I'm like, there's no way this kid got X offer that you text the coach and they're like, oh yeah, we did actually. So I think it's really just an intuition thing. And I haven't been around all these kids so much. You kind of and I'm in my what I don't even know, eighth class now. I mean, you know who's legit and who's not, and like I touched on earlier, there's a lot of politics involved. So even though some offers may not seem accurate at times, there are politics playing into that with college coaches as well, and there are reasons they will offer a kid even if he's somebody they're not willing to take at that moment.
And what I was gonna say, like, correct me if I'm wrong. Most of these offers are they're not very solid. Where like if the kid's like, "Yep, I'm gonna go, I'm playing there," they're not gonna be able to sign there. Correct?
Right, and you know that from a lot of the schools too, because if you look at how many players they're offering,
Right.
if it's some schools will offer 100 plus kids in a cycle, and they've got 3 spots. They're not, whether or not you can debate what you want to call an offer, but if you can't commit and take it, is it really an offer?
Right.
So a
Right.
lot of it depends on the school too. I mean, I still think it's important to, even if it is that situation, I still think it's important to say that player has the offer. The school called, they said it. It's only going to help the kid too. If school A sees that school B offered, that's only going to improve the stock in their eyes, and it may lead to more offers as well. So I don't see any downside with that. The only one would be claiming offers the school hasn't made at all. That would be the one where you kind of just sit back and don't say anything.
So, how do offers affect how you rank kids? Because there's plenty of kids
They
that
don't.
okay. Because I was gonna say there's plenty of kids that have no offers or one offers, and then there's a kid that's got 10 offers, but he's ranked 10 spots lower. So okay, so you're saying you really don't kind of take that into play? I mean,
I never have. I mean, if it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, this guy's got 10 high major offers, and I don't even know if this situation has happened, and I have the kid outside the top 7, 8, 9, or whatever, and we're talking about a regular year, not this one where schools are having to make offers after never watching a
yeah.
player live. Okay, you'll probably get a slight bump to me, but The fact is, and I don't want this to sound arrogant or cocky, but the fact is, schools can only see a player um, in a couple times a year. Meanwhile, for me, I'm seeing them in the AAU season for 3, 4, 5 months, however long that goes. I'm seeing them in the high school season for another 3, 4, 5 months. I mean, I've seen them more, and as I've gone longer in this business, I'm getting more, especially now more than ever. More coaches are calling me, asking me what I think, and because not to take away anything from them, a lot of these guys are really good at their jobs, but a lot of people I think struggle to identify talent, and I think it would shock a lot of people how reliant some of these coaches are on people like me. It shocked me early in my career when I didn't know anything, and I had high major schools asking me what I think, and at the time I was 22, 23, whatever, and I kind of didn't have an answer
Yeah.
for people, but I like to use my own gut, and I think it's important to do that. And this is a conversation I've had with a couple people this spring and summer, because I've had people lower that have good offers, and I'm like, do you want me to rank your kid based on what a school who hasn't watched him said, or do you want me to rank him and get him to a point where he's earned it because he's earned it with me? I mean, what's more valuable to you? And, for me, I think it would, if I was a parent, I would think I want my son ranked because that person actually believed it, not because a school who may not have seen him live said so, or like I said, politics is big in this game. That's another reason why I don't go off offers. Especially it could depend what you program you played with. A lot of them have the best of intentions. They don't get into that stuff. But there are plenty that do, and they go after college programs and beg them to offer kids for whatever reason it might be. Not to say that that's a huge negative. Again, if you're doing right, I think there are situations where that will do wonders for a kid. But as far as me ranking off offers, I just can't do it, and I can't justify it to myself to say go against me necessarily what I believe or what I see. Um, and I have no problem being wrong. I'm in this type of work. I'm going to be wrong more than I am right. So it doesn't necessarily bother me a ton, but offers just never move the needle for me for those reasons in terms of especially with top 10. I think you see these kids go against each other enough, and there are a lot of different ways you can rank kids. A lot of schools will offer on upside, whatever. So that kid may end up, you know, being a lot better in college than he is when I see him in high school too.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to reward you for what you are versus more than necessarily what you could be.
Okay, that was actually I wasn't actually going to ask you at some point about that because you do sometimes I wonder is all right, are these rankings based on where he's going to be next year because the kid's really raw, he's long, he hasn't grown yet, or are we looking at what someone is right now? Because let's just I'll and this is not, again, you've said it, not everyone's going to agree with your rankings. Evan, I don't agree with your rankings obviously either. You know what
That's
I mean?
okay.
Like, right, it's no big deal. Like, it is what it is. Um, there is like I saw the rankings for 2023, and I've said this on my podcast before. We're not gonna sit here and bash kids at all. This is not a bashing kids stuff. They're kids. It is what it is. The parents are usually the problem, not the kids. But have you ever seen Johnny Kinzinger play basketball?
Only on film.
Okay.
I got the live stream last week, and I haven't gotten to 15U yet. So yeah, he was a pure film. He
Okay.
eval for me.
So I coached my youngest kid who's in the same grade. So I've coached against Johnny for years.
Okay.
Had battles with him all the time. And if John, and this is just my opinion, and so far I'm doing pretty good on my people who I tell you who to watch and who's good. If Johnny Kinzinger was 6'4", we would be talking about the NBA. The kid is
Yeah.
amazing. The kid's amazing.
Okay.
He hung 30 on us in Kimberly as a freshman. And he's just smaller. Johnny's a smaller kid. He's going D1 somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be, but he's going
Yeah.
D1 because the kid is amazing. And you hear this all the time, and I don't typically say it all the time, but you hear everyone say it. Oh, he's a nicer kid than he is a player. The kid is absolutely amazing kid. Just as a great kid he is, but he's an amazing basketball player. And when you get the chance to watch him, hopefully we have a season this year. Get up
Mhm.
here and watch him play because he is absolutely the real deal. And I've coached against who's your number one? Is Milan number one?
Yes.
Yeah, and I've coached against Milan, and Milan's absolutely incredible too. He's going to go high D1 easily. So I just wanted to throw my Johnny Kinzinger there because I think you have him at 5. I think he should be 1 or 2. Just my opinion.
Okay. That's. I mean, like I said, I mean, the 2023s. I know people like to take them, especially if they're freshmen, like it's state. And I had this conversation with a parent too. I'm like, this isn't even close to being ready, and especially when I
Oh
had
right,
to do it at a point where a lot of these guys I'm trying to watch on film. Johnny, like you said, I mean, if he was 6'4", yeah, but I think when you only have film to go off, you can't see. They're not, and, these highlights are only going to show you what they want
yeah,
you to see. And so with a
exactly.
guy like him, I'd rather put him lower and give him a chance to move up against kids that do have the measurables versus rather starting him too high and having to drop him because all of a sudden his size does start to bother him. Even though that's something that's completely out of his control. So
Yeah,
what is he, 5'10", I think, 5'11"? If you're a pure point guard,
yeah,
but he's kind of a combo, maybe more of a shooting guard from what I've seen. So, I think to start, again, I have not seen him live. I mean, like I said, like I told the parent too, I could be completely wrong on a lot of these kids right now
yeah,
that I haven't seen, and they're not even close to being done growing here. A lot's going to change. So I could see a situation where I definitely have him lower than where I have him. I've heard he's just an unbelievable shooter.
yeah. He's
Maybe probably the best in this class. So,
yeah,
especially if he grows, I mean, I have no problem seeing him in the top 3, top 2.
yeah. Well, my claim to fame is that I held him to 2. I shouldn't say our team held him to 2 points once on 2 free throws in 7th grade.
Okay.
So I
Well,
don't think
I
anyone's
just
ever done.
dropped him.
I don't
I
think.
just dropped him to 10. Then thanks.
Yeah, that's
You can
it's
explain that
just
to him.
it was in 7th grade, but that's just I can guarantee no one's
Eh.
ever done that. But yeah, he's an amazing player. So did you get to NY2LA? They were doing the grassroots stuff. Did you get to any of those
No,
for the last
I
couple
was.
weeks?
I started watching online. I can't go down there.
Oh, okay, okay. Um, Going back to offers and stuff like that, you kind of hit on it a little bit about how you got people calling you. So, and this is more of an opinion kind of thought. I'm just picking your brain at this point because you're in the game and you're around basketball all the time. But like, what do what kind of role do you think that the do you think that's like a role that because you're playing it, I guess if they're coming to you about it, but do you think that's a role that most AU coaches and directors should be playing? High school coaches should be a role that they should be taking on and trying to get their kids offers, or I'm just it's like what impacts getting offers the most for these kids? Is it their high school coaches? Is it their AAU coaches? Is it just they're playing AAU? You know what I'm saying? Or is it someone like you?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily any one thing in particular. At the end of the day, I'd still like to believe it's because a coach sat down, watched you compete against another high level opponent, um, did their homework on you as a player, as a student, as a person, whatever they like to do. And, you checked off enough boxes for them to offer. Now, that said, there are a lot of different people out there that can sway these coaches. Um, you know, you ask, should AAU coaches be involved in trying to get these kids offers? I think absolutely, if you know what you're talking about and you're straightforward. At the end of the day, I don't think you're helping a kid by getting a school who may not necessarily want him or believe in him to offer and has to be pushed in such a way that they're not 100% sold when they offer. I don't think that helps the kid. It definitely doesn't help the school. So there are a lot of people in these coaches' ear. At the end of the day, I think most coaches, all you can really do is get them to watch a kid and have them make up their mind on these players one by one. I don't. There are very few that um, you could call up, or at least I could call up. There are a lot more people with bigger power than I have that I could call up and say, hey, can you offer this kid? And they would do it. And you could probably count those guys on one hand. Um, so at the end of the day, I still think it comes down to it's starting with an assistant coach sitting down and doing the groundwork on these kids, maybe watching them a couple times, and then however that program operates, a lot of head coaches will leave it up to the assistants at times, and kind of give them free reign. Others will offers will only come through the head coach, and they have to make the final decision on it. So at the end of the day, no matter how many people are in these schools' ears, I would like to think the majority of offers, at least in my experience, come from the evaluation of the schools. All you can really do is ask a school to watch a kid, and then it's up to them to make up their own mind.
So, and the reason I kind of ask is, I mean, if you go on Twitter, I don't even know if you follow this person. I don't even know if they're actually on Twitter. It might be somewhere else. It might be different social media, but like, there's kind of like, I guess, I don't want to say scouts, but like, there's guys running around that are posting about, hey, come look at this kid, look at this kid, look at this kid. And it's like, okay, you don't work for one of the colleges, or maybe you do. I don't know. Like, how is someone paying you to say this about the kid, or a college paying? You know what I mean? Like, do you kind of know like that there's people out there in social media that are colleges are going directly to, and they're just listening what these, I guess, consultants, you could say, what they're saying, what their opinion is.
Um, I mean, there are people that run scouting services. I mean, I wouldn't say I necessarily, know. I mean, NY2LA. I mean, we're NY2LA and Prep Hoops are technically scouting services too, and fall under that category. I guess you kind of have to give me a specific example as to who you may be talking.
Maybe we
I
could
mean,
talk off.
I
Maybe we
mean,
could talk offline.
yeah. I yeah. There. Have I seen tweets where people say college coaches, you got to watch this kid? Yeah, and I think they're mostly scouting services that, um, you know, there's two types of scouting services. I think like us and NY2LA. I mean, the colleges will pay us. There's obviously another way to go, which I don't want to, I guess, give an opinion because I don't necessarily know what I'm
You want me to
talking
give the
about
opinion? I can.
fully, but where the kids and the parents will pay to get their name out there. Do,
Yeah,
do I think that's the best way to go about it? No. But
yeah,
I don't know enough about that side to really, I mean, that would just be off the top of my head. Especially in today's age of social media, I don't think you need that. I think
yeah,
I would guess, unless there's something I don't know, I would say that kind of thing's a waste of money.
yeah. I won't. We can talk offline about specifics, but and it's funny because it's again like we've segued right to where I was going to go anyways. But like the social media stuff, and I kind of mentioned it before we started recording, but like you guys it's a fine line when you talk about high school kids. Like you guys are everything you write is basically you're just it's all good stuff, right? That's just what it is. There's never
Yeah.
ever, hey, these are the kids that are left off and why they're left off. This is why they suck, or this is why they need to work on. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But there are social media accounts out there that it's nonstop. Like everything's great, everything's good, everyone's amazing, and then they run camps or things like that clearly are going to generate revenue, and who's going to pay for these? All of the parents of these kids that just got mentioned and tweeted about that they are amazing players.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
it's
and that's kind of it is a fine line to walk because I mean I find myself walking that line too, and I don't necessarily feel good about it sometimes because we do run a camp and it's some kind.
I wasn't talking about you guys, by the
Well,
way.
I know, but I'm just kind of trying to be transparent.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, we run a showcase too, and it does kind of feel like sometimes profiting off high school kids and their families, and it doesn't. I don't like to think of it like that. I think at the end of the day, I mean, again, we don't go out and seek. Uh, what do you call it? Subscriptions from kids or their
right.
families. I mean, it's a college, basketball scouting service that those colleges are supposed to subscribe to. Now, if you want to see what I or anybody else in the network may have said about your son. You're more than welcome to, obviously. And then of course there's a camp, but I mean you are getting something out of it. I mean I can't remember how many coaches we have that subscribe to this. I mean it's national, it's all over. So
Yeah.
and even the camp, I mean there's going to be college coaches there watching you and stuff like that. But yeah, there are people that target it for that reason, and maybe overhype a kid because you're getting something out of it. So I never look at necessarily who subscribes for that reason. I don't want to be a guy that makes money off the backs of a 15, 16, 17, 18 year old kid. But you could draw that parallel with all of us, and it'd be hard to say you know no, I don't.
Yeah. All right. So let's just continue talking about social media here because there's a lot of stuff that we could go on for hours about social media. Um, we talked kind of about your effects on ranking. So you do, I mean, you do use social media to kind of rank kids. You do look, I mean, even though we both know, right, that everything that you see on social media is going to be a good video of these kids,
Right.
you still kind of do look at it and affects. Here's a question that another one of my friends wanted me to ask you. Do you guys? I know it's just the world we live in, right? It's like, oh, this person dropped 25, this person dropped 30 points. Has there been a time where you've just been so overwhelmed by like, oh, this kid can play defense. Like I am ranking this kid high because he can't really score, he can't shoot, but he is a lockdown defender. Like because you watch AAU, there's not a lot of defense being played. It can get pretty
Mm.
sloppy and pretty ugly. So, and a lot of stuff is always just so offensive generated. I mean, is there ever, do you look at that stuff? Do you see where like this kid's really good, but he does not play defense and he does not care about playing defense, dropping him 10 spots or whatever?
Yeah, all the time. I don't know if I would drop a kid as much, and you know, maybe it's something I need to do. If I necessarily feel you're a bad defender, I think it's like you said, sometimes in AAU, sometimes it can be hard to see who's a bad defender because there are very few guys that go out there in these tournaments with the sole purpose of shutting someone down, and that's their niche because that's not going to get them highlights. That may not even get them noticed by college coaches, and unless you have like an incredible defensive performance, and I know you're going up against a top kid, and you shut him down. That may not even get you in the write up a lot of the time. So I mean, like you said, it's a world we live in where you got to score. If you want your name out there, you want rankings, whatever. I mean, nobody that averages 2 points a game and that's maybe the best defender in the state, is going to be ranked in the top 25. Even though at the college level that may have tremendous value, and you may outperform and have a better career than everybody else in front of you because of that reason. But yeah, I would definitely say on the flip side, the good defenders do stand out because they can be rare in AAU. A good example would be Hayden Doyle, Brookfield East, right? Now he's gotten a lot better offensively too, but I thought he got his offers initially, his first couple Division II offers because of what he can do defensively and kind of that blue collar mentality that stands out with him. And he's always played on such a loaded team in AAU, and yet he's still a guy that stands out because of what he does on the defensive end. And certainly a guy may not have the athletic measurables of where I have him ranked, but he is elevated because of what he can bring on that end of the floor.
Okay. Um, so going along with social media, this in the last month, this kind of was I'm wondering if this is going to become a trend, but a movement hoops decided, as obviously, as you know, created a team. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Specifically, do you think that we're going to see something more of this? Because it's interesting because you've got, it goes back to social media. It goes back to eyeball. We want all these kids and all these parents want all these eyeballs on their kids, and going to play for a team such as Movement Hoops that runs essentially a media company that puts out highlights all the time. Are we going to see this more often? And what are your just kind of general thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't know if I have necessarily a strong opinion one way or the other right now. Um, I've seen it before, not necessarily maybe from somebody like them who started putting videos together. But I mean, NY2LA Sports, has a team now, a Phenom. There's World Hoops Elite. They run a scouting service. Put together an AAU team, and have something on. So that's kind of the AAU kind of. I don't know if it's the side or the main thing for them, but there are a lot of people in this business that do something else like that and do have an AAU team. I haven't spoken to them specifically on, kind of the rhyme or reason behind it. I don't think they necessarily, I could be wrong, but I don't think they started it out of thin air. I think it's the old Dayton County Warriors and start, kind of took that roster over and turned it into Movement Hoops Elite. But, those guys are good guys too. I mean, I'm sure that their priorities are in the right place, and they want to see kids succeed. And if I had to guess, I think they were just kind of looking for a new challenge in this game, and um, trying to do something different. And we'll see how it goes. Because I think it was a good year for them to get started, because with everything going on, there are a lot of players jumping teams. So they
Yep.
got to borrow a kid here, a kid
Yeah.
there that maybe was off this weekend or a certain weekend and just wanted to play. But building a program takes a lot of time across all levels. Takes a lot of, can take a lot of money depending on, who you are, what your funding is, if you're sponsored, if you're not, if you're in a shoe league, if you're not, there's all sorts of dynamics that go with it. But I think they would have an appeal for kids just because these high school kids know who they are. They've been around a lot of these guys before. Obviously, there's an added benefit with, they're going to have cameras at every game watching everything you do. You're going to get a highlight tape that nobody else is doing, because they're going to be at every one of your games, filming it too. Um, and certainly, just being as young as they are, they can relate to the kids differently as well. And, have they been around the block in this AAU, business enough to impact college coaches, get them at their games, and all sorts of that stuff. And there's going to come, the off season where you have to fight to keep your players, and you have to try and this sometimes to take players from other programs. Do you have that kind of juice? I think will be a challenge for them at such a young age. But because it's not just the kid you have to convince. A lot of times you have to convince the parents too,
Right.
that move is going to be the best for them. But um, like I said, without having spoken to them, I do think the priorities are in the right place. And knowing them, I don't necessarily know them on a personal level, but we cross paths a lot. They're good guys as far as I can tell, with good intentions. So it'll be interesting to see how this grows, because obviously they do have a presence in this state. But certainly some of the stuff I mentioned, I think can take time to learn. I don't think you look at all these big AAU programs, none of them necessarily came up overnight. Certainly not the biggest ones who have the most influence in this game. So it's not, 1 year thing where all of a sudden you've arrived. It's going to be, reputation that has to build over 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah. I just think it's really interesting because this whole last hour we've been talking about social media and eyeballs on you and perception of kids. And, like you've looked at, you kind of do rankings based on social media, and you've got this movement hoops that is all about videos of kids. And you've got big AAU programs that don't do a whole lot to promote their kids. You don't see a
Mm.
lot of tweets from them, and don't see
Yeah.
talking about, and even they have really, really good kids. They don't talk about them. And you can go to this movement hoops,
Mm.
and you got a couple good moves, couple good possessions, and you're on a highlight film, and it's more
Yeah.
than any kind of tweet a big program could ever send out. You know what I mean? That's why I don't think it's going to stop. I think it'll continue to go. And you're right. It's been a weird year where kids have been playing for one program, and then the next week there was someone else, and the next week there was someone else, and it's been a weird. Obviously, it's been a really, really weird year. So, but I thought it was, yeah, because Cobbs came up. Is Cobbs still down in Arizona? Because Cobbs came up and played with him. I'm assuming you saw that he was playing with him. Same with
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe he's back home. I don't know. I don't know anything about that kid other than yeah, he was in the state for up until eighth grade year and left. But
yeah. My son was just. I think my son asked because I think he was at Hillcrest Prep down in Arizona with
yeah,
Foster, so he didn't know if he
yeah.
just came up for the tournament or what. But I don't keep up with Arizona kids. I mean, I just saw that he was playing with them,
Mm.
so I just thought it was kind of interesting. So I'm just checking my list of what I kind of sent you and what I wanted to talk about. So let's let's go back. Let's talk about some more. Let's talk about 2022 rankings, just because that's kind of how we started things off when I first met you. So, um, who is your? Because we'll talk. When we talked about Owen before, I'll talk about Owen, and I'm transparent. Like Owen's slept over at my house before. He's friends with my kid. Like I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not. Here's the thing. I'm not pumping a kid that is not good. Fair. Evan is Owen Polakowski, very good basketball player.
He is a very good basketball player.
Okay, was he one of your biggest surprises this last couple months that you saw?
Yeah, I think so. Just because I'd never heard of him. I mean, he was on JV. Obviously good enough to be on varsity. Yeah, I don't know the dynamics of Kimberly. They have a very good team, a deep team. Um, but given what I saw this summer, I thought he, at the very least, could have been a nice role player for them. And I know they've got some good football players that kind of fill this role, but they go small with those 6'4", 6'5" forwards that kind of do the dirty work. They had a couple of those guys. Now Owen's not that big, but I thought he could, given his football background, given his strength, maybe giving him some minutes there to do that. So yeah, after he came up to me. I wasn't gonna watch. I'll admit that. I
Hey,
was gonna.
come
Well,
on.
I had the baller TV, so I was like, well, I could get. And I think Wisconsin Playground was playing, and I kind of like to do the highlight tapes on the side, so I didn't want to miss anything that may have come up. Like I said, with the Badger job too, they got a lot of guys Wisconsin was always looking at. So I like to kill two birds with one stone. I can, but I was like, what, Playground's at every tournament I'm at, so I'll go back there, and I think I'm there like a minute, and he picks a kid's pocket, you know, on the other side of half court, takes it the other way, and then dunks it on him. Like, okay, this was worth it. I don't think he necessarily had a big game, but he certainly stood out just in so many areas. Um, 6'3", athletic, strong, more skilled than you would think for a guy with a football background. In his body type, you look at him and you think, okay, he's going to be a bruising slasher, and then he can put it on the deck and kind of weave through traffic. He can shoot it from the outside, and if defenders aren't careful, he'll go up and put it on them at the rim too. So there was a lot to like. I can't think of necessarily a situation where a guy, there might be one or two that I'm just not thinking of, but that a guy I didn't know of just came in and, after, probably two tournaments, I had already decided he was going to go from unranked to the top 35. I
Put him
don't know
higher.
if
Put him higher.
that,
Put him
higher.
higher.
Yeah,
Put him
we'll
higher.
see.
Put him higher.
I we'll see. They didn't play a lot of, at least from what I saw, top opponents on the prep hoop circuit. They were kind of always on the off court, and I don't know. It was a weird year where we couldn't do bracket play because of COVID. So
Yeah.
all the teams that you had to come in with, if you're playing at 8, all those teams were back again at 11. So it was a weird year with that. We didn't get a lot of bracket play, high level matchups like that unless you were playing in the showcase games on whatever it was, Friday or Saturday morning. So that I would like to see him, but like I said, I always like to be conservative with anybody for the first time. Start them lower than maybe I think they are. Just give them room to climb. I think that's a better alternative than having a kid all of a sudden not live up to that hype and having to drop them down.
How much did you watch him? Because I know obviously it was. Did you roughly how many games do you think you or half of games did you think you watched him?
I think
I get updates, so I have an idea.
I
Parents
would
tell me
say
if you're
I
watching or
would say
not.
four. I would say 4 or 5 over the summer.
Okay, okay. Um, and I watched him all the time on Baller TV just because I'm interested
Mm.
because he's one of my my son's close friends. So I this is a question for you, and this is another, I don't know if it's a politics thing, but it's just kind of where you kind of start, and almost again we've all said we wish that there weren't rankings because sometimes they don't. There's just so much fluctuation. But if Owen Polakowski's if his name was something else that would have put him, like, let's say you already knew about him and he was in the top 20, would his play have shot him up even more? Because like to me, and because I've watched a lot of I've watched a lot of basketball. I've been at most of the tournaments that you've been at. I've watched a lot of stuff. I've watched the Playground Kids. I watched JH1. I watched all those top teams, whatever. Um, I didn't see a lot of other kids that played as well as Owen. Fair statement or no?
Uh, okay. So you're saying if he was 20, how high would I have? I don't know if I could have. I can see it happening. So 20 would be about where Andrew Rohde, um, C.J. Campbell, in that kind of range. Chris Morgan from your neck of the woods.
Yep.
And I don't get to see a lot of him. He's kind of a mystery to me because he plays a grassroots sizzle for AU. So unless I go to a Kakana game, I
Right.
don't see him. But um, would I have? Yeah, I could see him. If that's where he started, I don't know. I'm just pulling up the rankings right now. I don't know if I could have bumped him ahead of Luke Hurdle, somebody like that right now, just because Hurdle's been so consistent on
Okay.
the
So
AU
so
circuit and
that's
played in some big time games. I mean, I don't know if I'd see him moving up 2 or 3 spots right now, but we're
what's
talking a year from now. Yeah, I could see him in there.
okay. So let's just use what's Luke Hurdle at right now?
I got him at. Well, I haven't updated him yet, but based on I don't know if this is final, but I got him at 17 right now.
Okay, so and maybe this is a total hypothetical question. If Luke Hurdle played like you saw, like Owen Polakowski played that you saw, how high would Luke Hurdle move up? Would be the question. I, I'm just.
Well, yeah, there's so many variables
I
here.
know
I mean, we're
there
talking
is.
about
I
a
know
kid
that.
that played with Playground and played with a ton of
Yeah.
talent and shined that way. I mean, that's a completely different scenario than someone who's the best player on a team with no other Division One talent around him and played in a ton of showcase games instead of, a lot of times against, Team 1848 was I don't know. I don't know what goes into creating the tournament brackets. It's got nothing to do with me, but I'm guessing based on the games they were playing, the people who were making the bracket didn't know they were that good, and that
Correct.
would have been
Sure.
me included before.
Yep.
So they really manhandled a lot of people. Now Hurdle, as much as I love the way he plays and goes about his business, he's a kid that, measurable wise, there's going to be some athleticism knocks with him with college coaches, and I don't even know if he's going to end up playing basketball. I know he's a heck of a quarterback. I mean, that may be his best sport. I don't know where he's ranked in the state there, but so there's that dynamic, of it too. But could I
You don't have to
I see
answer.
Hurdle? Honestly, if Hurdle, if he was a kid, if he had measurables, he's top 10 because he checks off every box for me. If he's just kind of a 6'3", stocky, 6'4", maybe small forward, but he's just so freaking tough. I know that there are high major programs that are probably going to offer him a walk-on spot
Okay.
because they love the way he goes about his business.
Yeah.
And they think he'd be a fantastic addition to their locker room. I mean, he just, I'm trying to answer your question.
You don't have. So my point here. My point was, and I've said this previously on other podcasts, is there's this perception versus production. And this isn't just AAU. This isn't just your
Right.
rankings. This is high school coaches. This is everything. There's these kids get labeled with this perception that they're good basketball players because they were good in 5th grade or 6th grade. And then 4 years go by and they still have this perception, even though all these other kids have outperformed them production wise. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the kid,
Yeah.
maybe he's 6'6" and he dunked, when he was in 7th or 8th grade or something like that, but he just hasn't evolved, gotten better. And, or maybe he just was always known as the basketball kid, but hasn't gotten better. But all these other kids that have never been known that pass him up. But the perception has always been that these kids were better. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like Luke, and I've watched Luke play since he was in 3rd grade. I've seen Luke play. I'll tell you now, Owen
And Luke has
Polkowski's,
done it. I mean, I've gone to
yeah,
Under
correct.
Armour, national. I've seen him do it against the best. Problem
Agreed.
is, like him, when you get older, they start to catch up to you when you're not getting bigger, stronger,
Yeah.
faster, more athletic. He was so put together early, but given that, long term, would you give a kid like Owen an edge? Sure, but based on what Luke has done the last 2 years, and not just at prep hoops, like I said, Nash. I went to Under Armour finals last year. He was fantastic. So it's tough to get that type of thing out of your head
Right.
until maybe playground and Team 1848 matchup, or the two matchup in high school, or they match up with similar guys, and you prove it. Like I said, at the end of the day, I like to go off what you are, and kind of the proof that I have, necessarily versus what I think you could be, without, or even what I think you are, if you haven't proven it. So it'll be a big season, or even next summer for Owen, because there will start to be an X on his back a little bit, from some of these teams, or some of these team players that are protecting their spot and their rankings from guys like him, who may have a long-term advantage, being that he's just kind of come out of nowhere all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because he's come out of nowhere to to you and a lot of people, but like
Yeah.
we've all known this up here. Like we've known it for years that he's that good. And I like to joke with Owen. I said, if I never would have ran into you that day. And it's funny because I wasn't supposed to be on that lower level. I got there that day, and the scorekeeper didn't show up, so they needed a scorekeeper. And it
Okay.
just happened that I ended up seeing you, and I saw Owen before. I said, hey, I'm going to get Flood to come watch you. He's got it. Because he deserves it, because the kid deserves it. But it's just funny because it's snowballed off of me talking to you going to see him, you putting out a tweet, and then once the tweet goes, it's gone. And it's, I laugh at like the Owen and even his parents. I'm like, if I wouldn't have talked to Evan, this never would have
I might have
happened.
got. I would have got. I wouldn't have got there that weekend. I know
Right.
that.
It,
I
it,
knew
it,
who Landon. I knew Landon Van Callister was a kid I had to see, because he had really good junior film, and I ranked him. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, he had a great game. I mean, who knows? Like I said, there are a lot of times I'll go to watch a kid and he may not perform well, and that may be it. I mean, not maybe for the whole year. I may not
yeah.
get back to you
Well,
again.
yeah,
So
and that's and
it worked
I'm
out
not.
well.
Yeah, I'm not taking credit for Owen. Owen gets 100% credit for what the kind of player he is. I just helped him out a little bit, but it is funny because you watch for 5 minutes. He could have never, maybe he did that in the first half, or maybe you're just like, this kid isn't that good. I'm done. And then
Yeah.
it takes you, weeks before you come across it again. But yeah, my whole point, I didn't mean to make you specifically answer the question. He should be in your top
No.
20. He should be in your top 20, by the way.
Okay.
Because he is, and I've said this to you, or I think I've tweeted it. He's a top 20 player for sure, if not higher. And you'd be hard pressed to find a better athlete in that grade. Just speed, quickness, agility, size, everything. You know what I mean? He's a top 3 to 5 athlete in that grade. And I don't think that's arguable. You made a comment before I thought was interesting about Owen. You said that he's got a football background. How come he doesn't have a basketball background and he plays football?
Well, I guess I say that because when I went to look him up, because it was funny. I did watch the first half, and I don't know if he did anything. And I went to the scorekeeper, and I forgot the name that you told me. And I'm like, who's the kid from Kimberly that's really good? And the scorekeeper didn't know, and even the assistant coach didn't know who I was talking about, because he doesn't know where the kids were. And it's a hard last name to spell, so I couldn't
Yeah,
spell it.
sure.
Finally, I got it, and pulls up his huddle page.
Okay.
And so I think Kimberly football. Okay, I guess I don't know that. Well, obviously he plays football. He has that background, but I don't know. Is he more of a basketball player than football player? I guess I just kind of assumed right there.
This is up to Owen. In my opinion, Owen has three paths, and he can play D1 college in any three sport. He just has to choose which one he wants to play D1 at.
Okay.
And that's football, basketball, baseball. He's an amazing athlete. So it'll be what he picks. And he knows that he doesn't want to, but he knows that because he's not going to go play D1 three sports D1, at a college. That's not happening. So at some point he has to decide, what sport he wants to play D1 college basketball at, and then that'll happen. But yeah, he's a really good wide receiver. So I would assume he'll be our number one, Kimberly's number one wide receiver this year. I have texts all over. I don't know if you saw what Kimberly was voting tonight, if they were playing football in the fall or spring this year. So that's probably already decided, but I'm not looking at my phone. So, but yeah, he plays football and then he plays baseball too. So, I just thought it was interesting. I didn't know because I know when I first saw you, I said to you, he plays football. So I didn't know if you just kind of, that stuck in your head, but that makes sense that you saw his huddle page. So anyway, another kid that I talked to you about, this is something I'm going to tell you something you don't know about Josiah Butler. So Josiah Butler was another one that had a breakout summer.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know Josiah Butler was a Kimberly kid?
I didn't.
Yeah. He was a Kimberly kid through 8th grade, and then he went to FEL the last 2 years.
Okay.
So, and again, I'm transparent. These kids are friends with my kids, but I'm not giving you kids that are not good at basketball. Like, they've performed after you've watched them. I mean, he had one of the best halves you saw all summer against JH1 that game. When he had, and what he dropped like 20 some points in the second half, brought him back, and they won the game, and that was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 20.
Okay.
20 of 25.
And it's, one time we talked, I said, and you said, I'm like, hey, watch Josiah. You go, he's on my list. I got him. I know his name, whatever. He doesn't jump off the page like Owen does. Owen's just a freak athlete, but Josiah is just like crafty and gets to his spots. And did you continue to watch him throughout the summer then, or no? I think I saw you watching him in Minnesota.
Yeah, I caught one game in Minnesota. That might have been it, or 2 games in Minnesota.
Okay.
That might have been it. He played well. I think I'm definitely got him in the top 50 now, based on this summer. I was really impressed with him as a scorer. I mean, he's just kind of a kid that not necessarily anything too flashy, but just will take what the defense gives you. If you back off him, he's just gonna rise up, take the 3. If you crowd him, he's skilled enough to get to the rim, has that in between game. And I think the best part of his game, he's not an above the rim guy, but for some reason he can just hang and finish against people, even though nobody would probably call him. He's not a bad athlete, but nobody would call him an A athlete in terms of leaping ability. But for some reason he gets to the rim against bigger guys and he just out hangs them, finishes, and he's just so efficient. With those, I ranked him based on junior film. I think I had him in the 70s, and those guys are so tough to tell because they all, at those small schools, they all look good. You never know who's real, and sometimes you see him in person, you're like, why did I have this guy here? But he definitely was. So I always kind of unfairly, kind of dog those guys from small schools just because, you don't know. I mean, there can be guys that don't even play college basketball that put up 20 a game in those types of schools. But he was definitely better than I thought he would be. And, I think I definitely, actually I do. Yeah, I have him at 43 right now. Again, I haven't finalized it yet, but that's where I got him on my board the last time I edited it.
Okay. Yeah. And the thing with Josiah too is, I mean, playing at FEL, it's a small school, doesn't help. And then he was playing I'm assuming you've heard of, obviously, Wisconsin Blaze. He played for Wisconsin Blaze for, I don't know, 3 years. And my kid actually played with him for a few years, and you just knew it was going to come. And finally, now he's with Crusaders, and it's just with better kids around him, and it's kind of all clicking now. So it was good. It was good to see. He's like you said, he's not like this. He's not an amazing athlete. He's not like the fastest, quickest, can jump the highest or anything like that. But he's a basketball kid. You watch him, you're like, he can get to any spot he wants, and he can shoot it if he wants. He'll get to a spot. He'll hang. He finishes well at the rim. But yeah, he was just another kid, obviously, that we had talked about that I know you had mentioned in plenty of prep, or I don't know who does the Prep Hoops Wisconsin articles, the tweets. Are those, do you do all those, or is it all a bunch of different guys, isn't it?
We got that account, I have it.
Okay.
Are all the tweets mine? No. I think when they do the stories, it's some intern back in Minnesota that tweets that stuff, or when
Okay.
there's new rankings. Yeah. So unless it's like, well, I think the only thing I'll tweet out of that account is like offers or like tournament updates.
Okay.
I kind of mix it between my personal account and that account. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, they're all mine. But the stories, for some reason, I don't even bother tweeting them anymore because interns go across and just tweet them, tag the kids. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, but he obviously was in a bunch of those. Speaking of, this is another good segue. So, do you know everyone that works for Prep Hoops, like the interns, the high school kids that work for them and write for them and stuff like that?
um, I mean, Prep Hoops Wisconsin.
Yeah, the Wisconsin kids, because there's like a Colin
You
and a
mean,
Grant.
yeah, I mean, we're at tournaments together.
Okay.
I don't
So
have their
Grant.
numbers or anything, but
Okay. Well, so next time you run into Grant, ask him why he blocked me on Twitter.
well, what'd you say?
I didn't say anything about him. I don't think. I don't know why.
I don't know.
There's someone else that blocked me on Twitter. That person I know why they blocked me on Twitter, which I'll tell you offline. But I don't know
Okay.
why. All of a sudden I was looking at Grant and I looked at it and I'm like, he blocked me. I have no idea what I even said. I don't think I said anything to him. He's a kid. I wouldn't have. I don't think I questioned anything. I don't know. So if you can find out,
Okay.
and let me know because I don't know. I don't know what what I did. So, anyways, um, I think that's all I had for you now. Any other big surprises? And some of the kids that I haven't known that I don't want to just sit here and like be, well, hey, he went on this podcast and he talks about all these kids that he knows and these kids are friends with. Any other like surprises kids that came out of nowhere this summer in either class, 2022, 2023. I don't, like I said, I got kids in both, so I've been watching them and coaching against them or with them for years. So
2022. I mean, not anybody that necessarily came into the top 50. Um, yeah, I think for the most part, things kind of stayed still. Look at 2023 here real quick.
and it's weird because you've got so many of those kids that that play for that Phenom program you never got to see.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the drawbacks being I mean, it's either one or the other right now. If I were to have my 2LA still, I wouldn't be at Prep Hoops. So,
True. Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't get into all that necessarily. Like, I know there's bad blood between the two, but, like I tell everybody, it's got nothing to do with me. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever event I'm welcome at, I will show up and watch. I don't care what program you play for, or whatever. If there's a ball bouncing, I'll show up if you let me. I kind of try and let the politics go, but unfortunately, sometimes you get caught in the crossfire. So it's kind of cost of doing business. But 2023, a couple guys. Trying to think. Bennett McCormick, Catholic
Mm.
Memorial.
Yep. Coached
I
against
was
him before.
really
Yep.
impressed with JH1. Kind of just a gritty blue collar kid, does a little bit of everything. But I think you could label him at that, but I think he's got a chance to be a really big scorer too. I got him at 12. I think it's too low, but we'll see. There's a lot. I don't like necessarily bumping them in front of guys I haven't been able to see yet
Right.
personally. That sort of kind of made a name for themselves early, but I could see him being top 8. When this class is all done. Um, Guy from Crusaders, Levi Burkholz, had him ranked. He played really good in a couple games I saw against Playground Club. He held his own in that game, so he's going to be top 20. Really good looking athlete. Um, Chris Chris Jajersev. I'm gonna butcher this. Jajersevic Homestead plays for Chapman. Really skilled big guy. Again, another guy I think might be too low. Uh, Kid from your neck of the woods, Seth Myron, Kimberly.
Coach Seth. I coach Seth.
I really like what he could be.
Yep.
6'4". Looked like he's going to be about 6'6" wing. But you know, can kind of be a prototypical swing man. As a floor spacer, knockdown shooter, but also has some really impressive skills on the ball for a kid that's pretty lanky. He plays low to the ground. He can still get by people. So he's got a chance to
See,
really bolt up the rankings. I got him in the top 30 right now.
yeah, and just so everyone knows, I brought up Josiah and Owen. I did not bring up Seth Myron to you, Evan, in an email or anything. That was
At
all
least,
on your own. That
well,
was
at
all on your own.
least I did something right.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've coached Seth for forever. I coached him, and I'm good friends with his dads. People know that. People know me. They know I'm friends with Myron. So, but Seth, yeah,
and then,
Seth's a great basketball player.
and two
That's
more
funny.
guys. Jeremy Lawrence from Brilliant,
Yep.
I
Okay.
really liked, and he played well in some of their high level games too. And he's a real mismatch problem. I think is the 6'4" that can handle it, shoot it from the outside, take people off the dribble. Really good athlete for his size, better athlete than you'd think just by looking at him. And then the last guy that kind of jumped out this summer, Jamison Young, Kenosha Bradford, plays for World Hoops Elite. Really fast on the ball, just kind of one of those up and down kids that makes things happen in the open floor. Finishes well at top end speed. And like I said, I have him in the 30s, but I've only been able to see him once. I mean, there's a lot of kids that I could see myself moving, even though they're maybe in the top 40, 50, that I could be off on by 20 spots right now, just because we had such a limited summer. And,
Mhm.
it's kind of one of those years where, you got to take care of the kids who are going to be graduating soon, more so than the young kids, and just kind of make sure they have the most opportunities.
Yeah, and I apologize for not talking about the 2021 class. I don't have enough knowledge about that. I mean, I could obviously you do, but that's why I kind of focused on 2022 and 2023 because that's obviously the grade of my kids. But
Mm.
so anyways, um, anything else? Do you want to talk about? That's all I have for information for you. What do you have for the rest of the year here, as far as your schedule
Um,
goes?
yeah, a whole lot of nothing.
Is there another tournament? I think there's another tournament next weekend, isn't there?
I think NY2LA's playing.
Okay,
I know there was The Rock. As far as I know, that
that
was
got canceled.
canceled.
That's what I was
So, but
told. But then
I
someone,
saw people are playing in Wisconsin, so I don't know.
I heard people there was a one in Minnesota in not this weekend but next weekend.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
But
Maybe
I,
I'll have to look it up. I was done as far as I know. So I might try and get a fall league going here once the whole mask mandate's off, since there's no football. So maybe try and get that going somewhere. Hopefully, if I can find a spot halfway between Madison, Milwaukee, and obviously be tough for some of the Fox Valley kids to get down there, but um, would like to get something like that going, just because obviously we don't know what's going to even happen with high school basketball season
yeah,
as well. So maybe some college coaches can come out too. Yeah, so I don't have anywhere to be till October if we have college basketball. So
that's crazy.
still waiting it out.
You're gonna be bored. You got to conjure up some fake stuff to talk about or what?
Yeah, just try and focus on Wisconsin recruiting, but it's tough. Their class is almost done. It might be done in basketball, and they probably only got a couple spots left in football. So struggling, but nothing you can do about it. So
All right. Hang on. Don't end the call yet because we're going to talk after I stop the recording here. But I do want to thank you. Just so everyone hears me. I don't know if I said it in the beginning. Thank you
yeah, no problem.
thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. You're welcome to come on anytime. I actually thought to myself, it would be
No,
nice to
I
do.
like it. I don't get to be transparent with the rankings a ton. Like people don't necessarily ask me what I think, so I like to get it out there.
Oh,
It's
good.
more people
Okay,
just
so
assume I'm against somebody and
yeah.
or trying to dog somebody. Like
So
yeah,
when do you release the updated ranks of? Because you haven't done 2022 update in a while, have you?
uh, no, I don't even know the last time I did them. I didn't tell you. I didn't touch 21 and 22 until after the season.
Right.
So
So you haven't touched them since AU started then.
correct.
So when are those coming out?
2022, I'm working on this week. Whether or not I get them done by Saturday, I don't know, but yeah, I'm working on them. I got I got Logan Landers in 2022 class. You kind of got to figure out where he goes. And then I got about, I don't
Okay.
know, 10, 15 names unranked that I got to figure out where to place too. So
So Logan's going to graduate high school and then do prep school, correct? Is that essentially what he's doing?
I didn't read the thing, so I guess
So
if that's what he said, I just saw reclassifying. So
here,
yeah, I mean, I guess he'd have to,
yeah, I can
unless there's something I don't know.
let me this is great podcast
I thought he
material.
said something about finishing at Cedarburg, or was it
Right.
just staying at Cedarburg?
Let me I'll read it to you. I have it right here. Okay. Because he says to be clear, he says, for clarification, I'm firmly committed to playing for Cedarburg High School and Phenom during the 2020-2021 school year. We'll be attending prep school during the 2021-22 school year.
Oh,
So at that point, he's not a 2022 kid, technically, is he? I mean, I know he's in between. You know what I mean? It's like what Keaton
I
Ferris
mean,
is doing
not
this
for.
year.
I don't. Yeah, that's gonna. Yeah, what do I? Yeah, I don't know what to do with him.
Leave him off. He's
It's like
2021. Leave him off 2022.
I already moved him to 22.
Well, you just got to move him back.
Well, I just published the 2021 rankings
No one said
without
anything?
him.
No
I
one
haven't like tweeted. I haven't like tweeted him. So unless, yeah, I don't.
I saw someone
I
tweeted
mean,
the 2021
he's a
rankings.
2022 kid. I mean, if you're he said reclassifying, right?
Well, that's why I think that's why he shouldn't have used that word, is my thought too. Because yeah, the first thing he
Right,
says,
right.
yeah, I've decision.
Because other kids that go to prep school, I leave them in the class.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing. He said he's going to
You
prep school.
can't make that. You can't say you're 2020 because you're not.
Right.
You're still 2021.
Correct.
Oh, well. Yeah, I can move him back easy enough.
Well, if you want, Evan, you're welcome to come back. If you once you get the rankings published, we can go back over them if you want, so you can talk about them and be transparent about them.
Okay.
And because I was thinking to myself, I would love to do like a mailbag. I put this. I didn't. I was. Someone asked me today, like, how come you're not promoting this podcast with Evan Flood? And I said, I don't want anyone getting to Flood. Tell him that he's about to go on a podcast with a lunatic dad and not to do it. Let me get him on first. But because I would like to do a mailbag, because I'll tell you right now, you're going to have a ton of high school kids watching this podcast, especially if you retweet it out. But I know all the kids up here that follow me, and you have a ton of followers. I do not. You're going to get a lot of eyes and ears on that. So I thought to myself, it'd be kind of cool to do like a mailbag, just answer, questions that people tweet or email me or you. And then we can go over rankings too, if you want, 2022, even 23, whatever, depends on what you have updated, but it's up to you.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
sounds good.
We'll talk. Okay, I'm going to end the recording here, but we're going to stay on because I'm going to talk a little bit here. So thanks again for joining me, guys. This has been Over and Back Unintentional.